Welcome to Juki Junkies. I'm David, aka Handsome David. I'm going to be going over how to set up the Juki J-150 sewing machine. This is a very popular sewing machine for a lot of quilters and hobbyists that love Juki. It's a fantastic machine, but there's not very many videos on how to set this machine up. So here is a fantastic video on how to set this machine up. If you haven't already, please watch part 1 thoroughly through and part 2. The link will be in the description. Before you even attempt setting up this machine, as you might want to set it up in a different order than we did. So right here we have the machine head box. This is going to house the machine and all the parts that go with the machine. Over here to the left, we're going to have the tabletop legs and the casters that are going to be opted for this machine setup. And then over here to the left, we have the machine top, for the tabletop. You're going to need all 3 of these boxes before you set up your machine, and the casters, of course, if you ordered them. For tools, I would highly recommend having a small little socket set like this on standby next to the table, and a narrow hammerhead like that, and also maybe a drill bit that you can use your sockets with, a nice little drill with a drill bit set as well, and a razor blade. All of these tools we'll be using in the video, so I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below if you have any questions, and we can help you out. Alrighty guys, so first step, we're going to be opening up the machine table. So all you're going to need is just a razor blade. You're going to run down the seams. I have the table flipped over on the top side, so that way I can peel this box up. So we're just going to run the razor blade around the box. Cut. Alrighty, now that we have all the tape cut off, we're going to pull this back, and here is the wonderful table for the machine. I would probably recommend having 2 people do this, but we're going to take this out and get it all set up on top of cardboard so it's not going to get scratched up. So let's go ahead and do that. Alrighty guys, so we got the table split up apart. You can go ahead and put this stuff to the side. This is going to be on the bottom of your table once we're done. We can put this to the side, of course, as well. And here's the machine, or here's the table. You're gonna have 2 pieces to the table. This is where the machine head goes into, and this is gonna be the flip up side with the legs underneath. You're gonna see the film. There's a film on top of this table, so it might look a little scratched up, but the film will peel off at the end of the video. So don't worry about that, okay? So now we're gonna go to the next step. Alrighty guys, so we went ahead and set up these 2 tables side by side like this. You're gonna see the pre-drilled holes that this hinge will be connecting into. You want them to be laying parallel to each other, just like that, with those holes there and the hinge here. Now we're gonna get the leg box, and we're gonna go ahead and run the razor blade down all the sides, opening up this box. Once this box is open, we're gonna start taking out all the parts out of this box and laying them out and throwing the box to the side so we can get ready to assemble the table. Alrighty guys, so we went ahead and took all the legs out of the box, and you should have 2 bags of hardware here. Over here are the casters that come with the table. Since we have casters on this, we're not going to be using these, so I'm going to put these over here. But basically what you're going to be looking for is the lag bolts. You're going to want to grab the lag bolts with some washers, and you should have 4 of these. There's going to be 2 for each leg. So we went ahead and screwed those in over there. On this side, you're going to move the leg where the positioned pre-drilled holes are. So you're going to line up these holes with the drilled holes like that. And you're going to put the lag bolt with 1 or 2 washers, depending on the length of that lag bolt. You're going to go ahead and screw that in with a 11mm socket. We have noticed that some of those lag bolts may vary depending on when these tables got shipped out, so the size might be a little bit different. In this case, we were actually missing those 4 lag bolts, so we went ahead and picked some up from Home Depot, and this is an 1.25 inch lag bolt. You want to make sure that it's not going to be too long and won't poke through the table, so make sure that you get 1.25 inches or less. I would recommend a little bit less, actually. In this case, we're going to be using 2 washers. So here we go, and sorry about my hands. I've been doing some gardening work around my house. So here we go. We're gonna go ahead and drill in these 4 lag bolts. Alrighty guys, so for this step, you're gonna need a 13mm socket, this L bracket that you'll see in the bag with the bag that comes in the leg box. So you'll need this L bracket, and you're gonna need 3 of these bolts. You're gonna need the lock washer, which is the small one that's there, and then the regular washer right here. What you're gonna do is you're gonna put this L bracket, the cameraman will come over here. You're gonna position this on the level that you like. For this customer, we're gonna be going about, as you can see over here, you'll see where the level is. You'll see these little indents. We're gonna be going right there where that big line is. So you're gonna, you're gonna line that up with that hole right there. And then you're gonna go ahead and put, okay, your cameraman, you're gonna go ahead and put a bolt on this side, right here. You don't wanna screw these bolts down all the way until you have all 3 of them in. That way you can make sure it lines up and this little bracket piece moves, because that's what that's pretty much your nut for the bracket or for the bolts. So you're gonna hand screw these in, make sure you're not stripping them. And then you're gonna tighten them down with the drill, and you can just get them hand tight with the drill. You don't need to go super tight. Ready, so here is what it should look like when you're done. And the legs are on the table. So now what's next is we're going to be attaching the support. Alrighty guys, so now you're gonna grab the same bolts that you used on the legs, which are these. There should be a lock washer and a regular washer. And you're gonna put this support bracket on. Make sure Juki is upside down, so when you flip the table over, you'll be able to read it. You're just gonna go ahead and put 4 of these in. Just like that. You don't need to go too tight. And you can use a wrench or a socket wrench instead of a drill if you don't want to if you're afraid you might over tighten, but we have this set up where it's not going to be over tightening. So we are good to go. Guys, so on the next part, these are the parts you're going to need. We're going to be attaching the foot pedal and the foot pedal bracket, which is this piece right here. You're going to go ahead and lay this down. You can see those little grooves. You're going to lay this down on here and just get it right about there for now, and go ahead and get all your other materials. You're going to need this bracket, these 2 little plates, these little corner brackets, these plastic washers, 4 bolts, and the foot pedal and the foot pedal bar, which is this piece. Alrighty guys, so one thing to note is you want to put this bracket about 5 inches. So we went ahead and just marked it with a Sharpie. We're gonna move that so it's level there, and same thing over here, level there. Another thing to note is that if you are installing casters, there should be this little spacer in the caster box where you get the casters, and there's going to be extension bolts that you're going to be using. If you don't have casters, don't worry about the spacer. You'll just put this bracket onto this foot piece here, and you're going to put these on the back side, and then you're going to screw your bolt through this hole, and this will be the plate that holds it. But since we have casters, we're going to have these spacers on, and we're going to show you how to install the bolts here shortly. So here is where a second hand will come in handy. He's got that back plate. He's gonna go ahead and slide it in like that, pushing it all the way over here. And you're gonna line up this hole with that. And then you're gonna put this bolt just like so, over a little bit more, and a little bit more. And then you're gonna hand screw in this bolt like this until it catches. And then you can use a 13mm to tighten this down. You don't want to go too tight on this, as you might have to make adjustments later. So just snug it down, and then later on you can always tighten it down if you need to. That should be good. So now we have the bracket on there, and we can start installing the foot pedal. You guys, so we're actually going to install the casters now. What you're going to do here is you're just going to put this plastic piece on like this. Should snap on like that, and then you're going to grab the wheels, and pretty simple. You're just going to hand tighten these wheels on, and I would just go all the way down with it, and then you can make adjustments later according to the levelness of your floor. So there's one caster. You're going to do that to 1, 2, 3, 4. One thing to note is it might be easier just to put a little wrench on that nut on this wheel and tighten it down like that versus by your hand. But that's just up to you. The next step after we got those casters installed is going to be lining up these pre-drilled holes with this hinge so that they are level like that or lined up, so we can screw in all the screws. The screws should be in the bag that has these little hand wheels, and you're going to go ahead and use a Phillips head on a screwdriver or a drill and screw in all these screws. Alrighty, and obviously if you didn't have casters, you would be installing these wheels over here, and you wouldn't be using that spacer right there, which is this piece. So there you go. I'm gonna go ahead and screw in all these screws, and we'll get back with you in a minute. Alrighty guys, so now you're gonna grab the drill, you're gonna put the screw on the end of the drill like this. I have this setting so it's at like 3.5, 4, and that way it won't over tighten the screw. So you can see it'll make that noise once it's too tight. So that way it doesn't strip out the screw holes, because you don't want to do that. You don't want to strip these screws. You don't want to strip them in the wood. You want to grab in that wood really tight. That way this hinge holds on to that extra piece of table really well. So we're going to go ahead and repeat this process for, I don't know, probably 25 screws. Okay, so we have all those screws in the hinge. We're going to go ahead and screw in these little black knobs. You're going to see you can just screw one in right there and one right there. And one thing to note is that piece of wood that is right there with the tape is just for shipping purposes. You can go ahead and just take that off. You won't need that. And another thing to note is we are using, there is some instructions on this. We'll put the link in the description. But these instructions are a little bit outdated, so they may not apply. The video will be much more helpful. At least that's the goal. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and flip this table over now and get it on its legs, and then we will begin getting ready to put the head together, and then the foot pedal will be after the head. So here we go. So this is how you flip over the table. You're gonna need 2 people. You're gonna bring this table up. You're gonna grab the legs and halfway, set it down halfway, and then pick it up the rest of the way. Flip it over on its legs. And if it's standing sturdy, you know you did it right. That was a joke. You should have done it right, of course. So here we go. Now you got a beautiful table assembled, and you're ready to start putting that head on there. So now you're gonna go ahead and, alrighty guys, so now you're gonna go ahead and open up the machine head. You're gonna need to use a razor blade. Then there's these metal staples in here. You can just rip it open, or you can cut those with metal cutters, metal snips. Open this up like this, and you're going to take these 2 spacers out. You don't need that. Throw that over there with the extra brackets that we don't need since we got casters. And you're going to bring the computer head out and the control box out and the power cable and all that. We're going to go ahead and place that on top of this. You guys, so now that we have this out, we're going to take all this out, unassemble it. This is the hardware to attach the computer on here. And so yeah, here we go. I'm going to cut this all open and get everything broken apart so we can get to the next step. Another thing to note, if you haven't already done this, you can always screw in this back table later on. It'll make it easier to install the computer. But for this video, we're just going to lift this up and use the legs, and it'll be fine. Alrighty guys, so now you're going to grab these 4 bolts. You're going to take off the washers and the nuts, and you're going to go ahead and place them in this hole like this. And there should be 4 of them, of course. As you can see, there's like a little square hex head on the end of that bolt. So the bolt doesn't go all the way down. As you can see, it has a little bit of a gap. So what you're going to actually do is you're going to use a rubber mallet or a metal hammer to hit these down, and it'll actually indent into the pre-cut out hole, and it'll allow the bolt not to move at all. So you're going to go ahead and do that to all 4 of these. So here we go. If you want to record me, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using a piece of cardboard to protect it just a little bit so there's no nicks, but here we go. Just 2 hits, and it should be good. Just like that. So we're going to go ahead and do that to the last bolt right here, and then I'm going to be putting the computer down there. Alrighty guys, so we're gonna go ahead and lift up this table. As you can see, we're gonna lift up this table here. Basically all you're gonna do is loosen these little black knobs, push the leg in, and then pull it down, and then make sure this table is level. And you're gonna tighten down these black knobs, and then you're gonna put this metal rod in here, and there's gonna be one tightening point right here on the back side of the leg, and one tightening point right here on the front side of this leg. So now that we have those 4 bolts in, we're gonna grab the lock washer, the washer, and the nut, and we're gonna grab the computer head. You can see these little grooves are where the bolts are gonna go in. So I'm gonna put the camera down like this on the bipod. Come over here, pick the computer. So he's gonna help me pick up the computer and line it up with these bolts. You got it. Lock washer on first.
No, second.
Washer, and then lock washer, and then nut. So washer, lock washer, and then nut. Get those 4 bolts in and tighten down this flipped over. It might be a little bit easier, but we're gonna go ahead and do it this way. Alrighty, so now we're gonna grab a 14mm socket, and we're gonna tighten down all 4 of those bolts so that they're nice and snug. And note that this is gonna be a little bit harder to do if you don't flip the table back over, but in my opinion, it's easier than flipping it back and forth. Go ahead and get the power supply, and you're gonna put it right here in the corner where the switch is right here. So you want the switch facing forward. You're gonna grab these screws right here, and you're gonna put 1 on each side, screwing it in nice and snug. And then you're gonna grab these little staples, and you're gonna staple in. If you get underneath here, you're gonna see, underneath a little bit, you're gonna see this wire, and you're gonna put 1 right here, and then 1 back here, so it's nice and tight. You're gonna wanna make sure it's not blocking this hole right here, because that's where your wire is gonna be feeding through. And you wanna also make sure it's not blocking the machine oil pan. Alrighty guys, so what's next is you're gonna go ahead and take out the oil pan like this, place it on the back of the table. That's why I like actually having this back piece on. You could always screw in the back piece of this table at the end of the video. That way you have more crawling space for working underneath it. But I like to have this on as a little bit of a setup area. So we're gonna go ahead and take it. So next step, you're gonna grab your little hammer. You're gonna grab these little rubber pieces that are gonna be for the oil pan. You're gonna put the 2 gray ones in the front 2 pockets, and you're gonna put the 2 black ones in the back 2 pockets, as you see here. And now what you're gonna do is you're going to put a nail in each one, and then 2 nails in the hinge. So I'm gonna show you a quick little trick. What I like to do is you're gonna go ahead and put it in the rubber like this, and push down with your hand as hard as you can so it kind of holds it. And then you're gonna use the hammer to hammer it in. This is a little tricky, but that's kind of why I like this little narrow hammer for this, because it allows it to get this in nice and easy. A big fat hammer would be a little bit bulky for this rubber spacer. So we're gonna do the same thing all the way around, and I'm gonna show you how I do the hinges here in a minute. Alrighty, so now for the hinges, this is a little bit more tricky because your hammer, even if it's this narrow, it doesn't go all the way down. So what I like to use is, this is just a piece to extend my socket wrench. I like to use this as replacement for the hammer, and put that there, push this down in the rubber like that. Start it out with the hammer, just do 1 or 2 taps. And you can sometimes get it all the way down with the hammer. And then I like to put this on here and do 1 or 2 taps like that. Alright guys, so the next step, we're gonna grab the oil pan. We're gonna place this in here. Might have to pull back the rubber a little bit, making sure it's in there nice and snug, just like that. And we have the oil pan in. You wanna make sure the door is on the left side of the table, so that way you can access your bobbin case, of course. So make sure that the door is gonna be on the left side of the table if you're looking at it from the front point, okay? So now we are on to the next step. Alrighty guys, so now we're gonna take the machine head out of the box. This is gonna be the next step. The way I like to do it is I like to cut the box I personally think this is the easiest way. There's just no way you're going to pick up that heavy machine head out of the box like that without cutting the box. So I like to just go ahead and run my razor blade down 2 sides of the box, like that, like this. And then once you get that styrofoam laying down, you can peel off the top 2 pieces like that, allowing you to access the beautiful J-150. Gorgeous machine. And you're going to carefully lift this machine out. I would recommend prepping an area to put the machine down prior to lifting the machine out because it's very heavy. Alrighty guys, so next step is make sure you have these hinges handy because you're going to need these in a minute. Next step is going to be lifting out the machine head. So this is a very critical step. You're going to want to make sure that you have somebody that is capable of lifting upwards of 50 to 75 pounds, I would say, somewhere in that ballpark. I'm not exactly sure on how much it weighs, but I know it's heavy because I've done this multiple times. You're going to peel back this plastic like that, making sure these wires are folded in the throat space area. And what I like to do is I like to pick it up like I'm a pitchfork, like this. I'm going to carry it over here, set it in here nice and gently, just like so. Whew, that sucker's heavy. So once I have that thing set in there, I'm going to go ahead and tilt the machine forward like this, putting in this little hinge. Same thing on the back side right here. And then you can tilt it back into place. And your machine is now on the table and you are 1 step closer to sewing. Alrighty guys, thank you for watching this video. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Give us a thumbs up and leave a comment down below if you have any questions on setting up the J-150 sewing machine. We did go in order as possible throughout this video on what you should be doing to set up the machine, but you can always set it up in a different order if you would like to after watching this video. Whatever you think is easiest, that's just the way we did it. There is going to be a part 2 for this video, so click the link in the description for part 2. And if you guys didn't know this already, we are a Juki dealer. Our name is Juki Junkies, and we do sell these J-150 sewing machines, and we also do offer setups and deliveries in Florida. So give us a call. Our number is 813-376-5015 if you have any questions or concerns on this machine, whether it's setting up or if you want to purchase a machine like this. I hope you guys have a great day and like the video.